How to build a Blackgates Sweet Pea 5-inch gauge locomotive. This is part 30, experimenting with the geometry of the pipes, and after a third attempt I finally get the parts right, making a T-piece for the cylinder's exhaust piping. In the last episode I show how I made these two short pieces of pipe fitted with O-rings on the end. It's very important to make sure that the length of these pipes is correct. The distance between the frames is 3 7/8 of an inch. And at the moment both of the pipes end to end measure just over 4 inches, which is no good, so I shortened them by machining some of the threaded part away. And now when I place the pipes end to end, they measure exactly 3 7/8 of an inch. I need to make a piece of threaded tube that both of these screw into. I turned a piece of tube from a solid piece of phosphor bronze, or should I say leaded bronze, which is far easier to turn than the old red stuff. I drilled a hole in this piece of bar, tapping size, for 1/2 inch by 26 threads per inch. I cannot drill the hole any deeper because I'm at the end of the flutes, but this should be long enough for the job that I want. Famous last words. On the day I made this video, which was yesterday, I wasn't fully 100% together, mainly due to the hormone therapy that I'm on, that thankfully finishes at the end of this month. It cannot come soon enough. Speaking as a male, I definitely need my testosterone levels to return to normal. After completing the drilling, I threaded the hole. And now it's top tip time. I could thread the hole okay, but eventually everything seemed to tighten up and I could not withdraw the tap because I use manually operated tailstock chucks, and although I like them for speed of operation and ease of use, I couldn't grip the tap tight enough in the tailstock chuck, and that's a good thing as there is less chance of snapping off the tap in the hole. When I remove the tap from the hole, as you can see, there's a very clean thread in it now. I'm going in again though because I need to thread it deeper than I did previously, but at the same point it got very tight in the hole. Time to do a bit of thinking. This is a really old tap wrench that I've had for years, so I just fitted it to the end of the tap and that allowed me to unscrew it. The lathe is running slowly in back gear and it's running in reverse. The tap wrench is just sliding along the very edge of the cross slide. I thought it would be a good time to remove some of the swarf as the tap was coming out of the hole. This was done using an old paintbrush that sits in the lathe chip tray. I do like to show errors in my videos. I am far from perfect, to say the least. The first mistake is here. I'm parting off a piece of tube which will form the outlet of the T-piece. And I'm using a really thin parting tool. I've had this for years, it's never broken, and it always does the job. And it's great for making O-ring grooves, as you've seen before. If you watch my videos regularly, you may have noticed that I don't clean out the chip trays of the lathes very often. Underneath the Boxford I keep a small shovel, which makes the job a bit quicker. And now it's time for error part 2. This is the point where it went wrong. I'm parting off the tube in the wrong place. I don't know why I did this, I was just sort of in autopilot. It needs to be physically longer. The error became very apparent when I tried to assemble the piping. I haven't shown this, nor have I shown having to make a new piece of tube. Error part 3. When I assembled the nearly finished item, it was still too wide for the frames. And don't forget it needs some lock nuts fitting. I took the parts back to the lathe, made a couple of lock nuts, and then machined the original hexagon part a little bit thinner. When I did this, I even machined a bit of a groove for the lock nuts to fall into so I don't lose them. This is the original tube that I made, and as you can see, it's definitely too short. It's time to make the T-piece. I selected the new piece of tube and one of the shorter pieces, which I'm shaping with a drum sander, unorthodox perhaps, but it works. And it's much quicker than setting up the rotary table on my milling machine. Piece of tube number 2 will be silver soldered to piece of tube number 1, and all should be well, but I think it's a good idea to check it first. In this clip you can see how much longer the central tube is, and this is correct. All I have to do is screw out each end approximately halfway, fit the lock nuts, and the ends of the tubes that are fitted with the O-rings go into the holes in each of the cylinders. Now I need to turn this central part into a T-piece. so it's into the outer part of the workshop to do a bit of rudimentary silver soldering. I was taught how to silver solder by Don English, and Don's exact words were, heat the parts until the flux takes on a watery appearance and then apply the silver solder. And that is how I normally do it, but for the purposes of this tutorial I've applied a blob of silver solder, then I continue the heating process, and when the part gets to the right temperature you can see the blob settles and zaps round the part, just by capillary action. However, I always have to go over the top and apply a little bit more, and I don't need to do this. The joint is perfectly fine without adding any more filler material. I've actually done this over application for so many years I can't stop it now. I should do, owing to the price of silver solder. The next part of the job is to let the part cool to black before quenching it in a tub of water. A very important part of making T-pieces this way is not to forget to drill the hole in the main part. The drill bit that I'm using is 1 imperial size under the tapping size for 1/2 inch by 26 threads per inch. Why 1 size lower than tapping size? Because tapping size actually touches the threads and damages them. Back on the bench, here are the 2 outer fittings that go into the cylinders, and now they have a T-piece that fits in the middle. When it comes to the assembly job, this T-piece has to be fitted first, so that it aligns with the hole in the bottom of the smoke box for the blast pipe. The last thing to do in this video is to treat this T-piece to some acid, and here it is in the acid bath, and hopefully tomorrow when I take it out of the acid bath and clean it up, the part should look much better. I'm always very conscious of losing things in the workshop, so the parts that are made for the cylinders I'm actually fitting to the cylinders just so I don't lose them. Normally I dread the assembly of these T-pieces, but this one will be really easy because of the O-rings. Once again, many thanks to my friend the late Randy Blackburn for this excellent idea. That's it for this one. Stay safe, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.